the sport again. Better than diamond green.
Football.
Ha ha ha, my name is Finch, and as you know, I used to sit on the bench. Money, food, and necessities of life, those are the things that keep me nice. But when I don't get them, I go berserk, and that's just like a 400.
Welcome to the Married with Picks podcast, season 3, episode 1, week 1.
2023, week 1, getting started. It's been a lot of crazy changes in the NFL. We're going to go over some of those changes, really hit on the highlights as we approach each game, the changes from last season and what you really should be thinking about heading into week 1 and as it pertains to the gambling lines and making picks on these games.
All right. Well, with that said, let's get right into it.
Okay.
All right. So first game on my list is the Falcons versus the Panthers.
The Falcons versus the Panthers. This is what we're going to do all season? You're going to be like monotonous? Come on.
Well, number one,
get excited. It's the start of the season.
It's messing me up because it's versus instead of at. Yeah. So I know I'm going to mix this up at some point.
I switched pronouns already from what you did. I
see that.
Because the home team is always on the bottom and your pronounce the home team's on the top. It's going to screw me up talking about the games.
Talk to Vegas Insider, okay?
Hey, find another sheet. I found one that's good.
Okay. Well, your games are going to be in different order, though.
All right. Yeah, I'll find them.
All right. So first game is the Falcons versus the Panthers. It opened at -3.5 in favor of the Falcons, and it is the same as we are recording this Thursday evening, which is a little different for us. So I have to consult my quarterback sheet to even know who the quarterbacks are in this game.
Oh, I can tell you. Desmond Ridder was the guy that was a rookie last year. He didn't look too hot. And we got the number 1 pick of the draft, Bryce Young, starting for those Carolina Panthers. So big changes there in Carolina. And Matt Rule is out, the old Temple coach and Baylor coach. Frank Reich, who got fired midseason in Indianapolis, now taking over Carolina.
Okay. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, these are 2 bad teams. And generally in that situation, you would take the points, but I don't really want to lose my money playing a shit show game like this.
I think it's interesting because I want to see what Bryce Young can do. Typically, your rookie quarterbacks are going to struggle, but this is the number 1 pick of the draft, and he's pretty athletic. He's going up against a guy who's in Desmond Ridder, who really hasn't had much success in the NFL. So it's not inconceivable that Bryce Young could win this game outright. They're getting 3.5 points, and they're playing at home, right, against the Falcons. I'm leaning towards Carolina just because I feel like Frank Reich's first opportunity as a head coach, and a lot of times these guys fail their first time as a head coach, and then they have success their second go around. Frank Reich didn't, that's what they think about Frank Reich. He didn't have to sit out long. He got a coaching job the very next season. Okay, so I'm going to like I like the Panthers this year. They got Miles Sanders from Philadelphia. They signed him as a free agent. I don't know if there's any other changes that you wanted to review.
Not really.
Okay. Who do you like in this game?
Well, like I just said, it's 2 bad teams. I would take the points, which would put me on the Panthers, but I'm not sure I would actually bet this.
I love the hook. I see it being like one of those battles, tough teams, low scoring affair, right? And you do have some offensive power on the other side with Atlanta. Curious to see what Bijan Robinson's going to do. But you got to figure that the Panthers are going to stack the line, and that's going to be a lot of the defensive strategy this season against Atlanta, stacking the line because you know that Arthur Smith loves to run the ball. He's the old Titans coach, right, that fed Derrick Henry. So stack the line. I think the Panthers sneak out a 3-point win, but they're getting 3.5. They could lose by a field goal. Take the Panthers.
Okay. All right. I feel like we spent way too much time on that game. Next game is the Ravens versus the Texans. It opened at -10, and it is the same. So I don't know. This is one of those games that kind of worries me. Number one, the Ravens last year seem to always fail to cover these big spreads. We have CJ Stroud, who was the second pick of the draft, starting at quarterback for the Texans. D'Amico Ryans has taken over as the head coach. He was the former defensive coordinator for the 49ers. So I have to take the points here.
I think I'm on board with you. I like the points here. It seems like a lot of points. D'Amico Ryans is going to have the Texans, I think playing some strong defense. So you have to look at some game-changing plays on defense, I think, for them to even have a shot at keeping this one close, because you have Lamar back. Contract dispute is done, right? I mean, at least he's back in camp playing football. And Odell Beckham Jr. is now a Raven.
I just saw before we came up here something about an ankle injury.
Oh, shocker.
I think it was an ankle. Don't quote me, but something.
Does that mean he's not playing or what?
I don't know. I don't have details.
Well, you also have Andrews and a couple other weapons in there. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is expected to play or not expected to play, actually, right? Gus Edwards is going to lead the way. Or is it 50-50?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that might be a game time decision, but look for Gus Edwards to take a lion's share of the carries out of the gate, because J.K. Dobbins is coming off that big injury from last season.
Okay, so you're with me on the points.
Yeah, I'll take the points with Texans.
Okay. All right, next game is the Browns versus the Bengals. This opened at -2.5, and it is down to 1.5. I'm not exactly sure why. That has moved significantly this early. But this is a division game. Browns have dominated this matchup in the Joe Burrow era. They are 5-1. Their one loss came week 14 of last year, which would have been Deshaun Watson's second game back at quarterback after serving his suspension. I don't know what we saw of Deshaun Watson last year was not, I guess, the Deshaun Watson that we have remembered. So I don't know what form he's going to be in to start this year. But I have to go with the Browns.
Yeah, I think it's another one of the big question marks, right? Is Watson going to get back to the form that he was when he played at Clemson and led them to national championships, and when he was throwing deep bombs to Hopkins for Houston before all the turmoil began with his career? So last year definitely was, shaking the rust off, not really getting much opportunity to play. Didn't really succeed too much when he did. I think you have to look. I think he started like week 12, I think, last season. So he missed 13, missed about almost 3/4 of the season. So I think you're going to see a different Watson. He should be ready to go, get more in sync, more in the rhythm. But we're talking about the Bengals here. To me, for this season, you got to look for the Bengals to make a strong run to be the best team in the league. 2 years ago, they went to the Super Bowl. They lost a heartbreaker to the Rams. And then last year, they fell short, and it was kind of a letdown because the Bengals fans were expecting them to go back to the Super Bowl. So I think it was a disappointment last year, and I think they come back after being hungry again to get back into the Super Bowl. I'm going to take the Bengals this week. I think they win by 5. You're going to get anything less, or they're going to win by 3 at least. I would take the Bengals as long as it stays under giving up 3 points. I think you consider that pretty much a lock.
Okay. All right. So next game is the Colts versus the Jaguars. This is at -4.5 in favor of the Jaguars. This is also a division game. We have Shane Steichen, who stepped in as the head coach of the Colts after last year. And maybe you can speak to him because I believe he was an Eagles offensive coordinator.
He was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. He was calling plays for the Eagles. He's going to call plays. He's going to be one of 5 head coaches this year, head coaches calling plays for their team. Really decent coach. I expect that he's going to have success in the NFL. They drafted Richardson, who's going to start a quarterback for them. He's a mobile quarterback who has a pretty good arm. very similar to Jalen Hurts. So it kind of fits where he had success in Philadelphia, and enough so that he got promoted to be the head coach for Indianapolis. However, I think, with the rookie coach, rookie quarterback, I think you're asking for miracles to stop this Jaguars team. The Jaguars is another team going to kind of highlight as we hit these teams and we talk about the week 1 matchups, where I feel strongly that they're going to have a real successful season. I'm actually picking Trevor Lawrence to win the AFC MVP. I think he's going to have that great of a season. If you look at year 2, Doug Peterson in Philadelphia won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Jags are going to win the Super Bowl, but they're definitely a team that's going to sneak up on you this season. I think they're primed and ready to go. That defense is pretty strong. Obviously, we talked about Trevor Lawrence, and you got Travis Etienne, the Clemson running back that was drafted last year, and another guy named Tank. Keep an eye on him. He's a really big bruising running back that should get some carries, and if he has some success, he's going to be a fan favorite. But I really like Doug Peterson here, what he's done with the Jaguars. Week 1, I think they annihilate the Colts. Look for it. It's a division game, so the division games usually play tighter. I think you got at least a 10-point win here with the Jags.
I don't like the line at 4.5, but I think the Jags probably win, but something has me a little nervous there.
I'm not nervous about this one at all. I understand what you're saying typically, but I just think the Colts are so new coach, right? New quarterback. You got to think that they're going to struggle, especially out of the gate week 1. The Jaguars are a team that's rounding into form. I mean, they kind of found their identity. Well, they kind of found, as a franchise, they found their identity last year. And I think they took a broken, losing culture and turned it around with a successful coach. Keep in mind that Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, was the number 1 pick of the draft a year before when they had Urban Meyer as the coach, which was just a dumpster fire. So last year was kind of like the year that you're going to, put the Band-Aid on and heal up all the bruises and get your stuff together. And this is the year I think they make an impact and make a dent. And you have a lot of confidence built around the team in Jacksonville.
Okay. All right. So you were on the Jags minus 4.5.
Jags all day. Love them. I might like them the most today, of week 1.
All right. Next game is the Vikings versus the Buccaneers. It opened at -6 in favor of the Vikings. It's up to -6.5. So obviously we have Tom Brady retiring, Baker Mayfield stepping in at quarterback for the Buccaneers. I've never been a fan of Baker Mayfield. I'm not a fan of him here. Brady didn't have much luck with this team last year. I don't see Baker Mayfield getting any further. They have Rashad White as their starting running back now. I still didn't really know what happened to Leonard Fournette. He just kind of went MIA.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
he didn't have a really good season last year, that's for sure.
Well,
but they didn't have a good offensive line either.
Yeah, overall, it just wasn't a good scene. So I don't think it's going to be that much better for Baker Mayfield. So
I know you got 6 on your sheet, but I'm seeing 5.5 across the board pretty much.
I just looked it up before we came up here on FanDuel Sportsbook, and it was up to 6.5.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, everything here. Well, maybe I got to refresh it.
But regardless, it's Kirk Cousins.
5.5.
But he's at home.
That's the thing for me. If they're at home and, Baker Mayfield, I don't know how much you can have confidence in the Buccaneers team with him there.
Yeah, the Vikings defense isn't that good, but.
And the problem with Minnesota, I'm sure they're going to be very similar to how they normally are. They're Jekyll and Hyde, right? 1 week, they're winning by, they win by 30. The next week, they lose by 30. Last year, they came back from 30 and won. Like, it was insane. You didn't know what to expect from the Minnesota team and Cousins.
What do you expect from the Buccaneers defense?
Yeah,
because 2 years ago they were really good. Last year they weren't as dominant. If you get Kirk Cousins uncomfortable, then
their success is going to rely heavily on being able to stop that duo of Cousins and Jefferson, right? Because that's going to open up everything else. They jettison Cook, so he's gone at running back. Madison is now the starting running back who a lot of people liked in the backup role. When Cooks was getting hurt, he put up some big numbers. Adam Thielen's gone to Carolina. Right. So you have a couple different players, but you still have TJ Hawkinson. the tight end that they acquired from Detroit last year. And I think they come out firing in this one. I like the Vikings. I'll lay the 5.5, 6 points, whatever it may be.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm always uncomfortable taking Kirk Cousins, but
I think you always have to be uncomfortable, right? I wouldn't put it like I'll never take the Vikings as a 5-star pick, but I think this is probably a 2 or 3 star.
all right, don't let me down, Kirk Cousins. All right, next game is the Saints versus the Titans. It opened and is at -3 in favor of the Saints. So I mean, is there really much to say? The Titans, like, funny story. I don't know why, but I thought that DeAndre Hopkins signed with the Chiefs. And I'm literally saying this to you at the dinner table, and you didn't say a word because you probably weren't listening. But
shocker.
Then I saw something on the internet, and I Googled DeAndre Hopkins, and he pops up in and what I said to you during dinner was, I don't understand why a team like the Titans wouldn't be interested in a guy like that. So then I see his name and I Google him, and he pops up in a Titans uniform. So I don't know where I got the Kansas City thing from, but I was very excited once I found out that he had signed with Titans, because that's really what the Titans need, is a number 1 receiver to replace AJ Brown. I think Hopkins still can do it, and I think he's a good fit for Tennessee. So I love Tennessee again this year, and I'm taking Tennessee as the dog. Easy.
Well, I think anybody that's listening to these podcasts, first of all, God bless you. And second of all, I think they know that, Jaclyn's a big Titans fan, big Derrick Henry fan. So vis-a-vis, she likes a player. She likes that team. So I think Mike Vrabel here look to get back on track. One of the biggest disappointments in Tennessee that I had last year was their defense. They were a sieve. They gave up a ton of points.
Their defense played good last year.
The year before, they were horrible.
In a lot of games.
The year before, I guess they were horrible, but they were not that good last year. I mean, they were pretty disappointing. I thought the Titans were going to finish in the playoffs. But now that you have Hopkins and you have the number 1 receiver that replaces A.J. Brown that they were missing tremendously last year.
Exactly.
I think this is setting up the offense to be pretty successful. You got Tim Kelly. The one notable thing here, change from a coaching staff perspective, is Tim Kelly was the passing game coordinator last year, has now been promoted to the offensive coordinator. So I believe he's going to call the plays, replacing Todd Downey as the offensive coordinator. So that's a big change, and we'll see how he does. Some guys can call plays, some guys can't. So you always worry about that when somebody takes over in that position. But I look for big things for them to continue to really run that play action, right? Because that's when you think of the Titans, that's really where they're successful, when they get Derrick Henry going, or at least have the defense selling out to stop Henry. And Tannehill kind of tucks that ball, similar to Boomer Esiason back in the day with the Bengals, and just he runs that play action so well, pulls it back. But the problem is they're missing that deep threat to get open and create separation. Hopefully, DeAndre Hopkins is that guy. He's been that guy in the past. He was that guy for Watson. Hopefully he can be that guy for Tannehill this season. Titans make a run back into the playoffs. I like the Titans against the Saints. They are playing at the Saints, and I know there's big expectations for the Saints this year. You got to like Olave.
Olave for the 18th time.
Yeah, he's pretty good. The Ohio State running receiver that was drafted in the first round last year.
I guess we should mention we have Derek Carr at the helm now for the Saints, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's huge changes with the Saints. They were pretty bad last year, but the defense was decent. But they had no quarterback. They had no offense. Jameson Winston is still there, but he's a backup.
Was as good last year.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like you have these DCs that step into the head coach, and then the defense kind of flounders, like the same thing with Todd Bowles and Tampa.
Yeah.
So
some of the changes there, right? You have Olave, and then on the other side, Michael Thomas is back, right? So we were expecting Michael Thomas. I was
Michael
keeping
Thomas. There's a name from the past.
Well, I was expecting him to do big things last year. I kind of pocketed him on some of my fantasy teams, thinking I was being slick, and the guy never ended up playing. So I don't really trust him. We'll see how he does, but you can't. Even if you don't trust him, you can't ignore him. Michael Thomas is a difference maker when he played in the past. He was great for Drew Brees, but now we're starting to get a little older, right? A little longer in the tooth. So does he still have anything? I think he can be a good possession receiver on the opposite side of Chris Olave.
Olave.
And they also have
Oh, we should also mention Kamara is suspended.
Oh yeah, so Alvin Kamara is suspended. He's going to be out for 4 games. But I think that looks like that's it. So when they get him back, it's going to be pretty decent. But David Carr's the big addition there, right? You got a quarterback that can move. We expected big things out of him in Oakland.
You always do that.
And then Vegas.
Derek.
Right? Derek Carr. David, I call him by his brother.
Yeah.
So, there's something about Carr I like, but when you think about it, you shouldn't have any big expectation. He had Adams last year and struggled, right? Had Waller and struggled. So those are 2 decent, really good weapons, and he couldn't get it done. So I don't know. I cheer for the guy. I want to see him be successful, but I don't know that you can count on him.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Next game is the Steelers versus the 49ers. It is at -2.5 in favor of the 49ers.
Big news first. Nick Bosa gets a 5-year, $170 million contract, $34 million per year. And he will play against the Steelers this week.
So Steelers are home dog in this one. So we have Brock Purdy will be back at quarterback for the 49ers after his injury in the playoffs last year.
49ers fans are, for the record, 49ers fans are the biggest punks that are in the NFL. I mean, so crybaby. I hate when teams are like, oh, we shoulda, coulda, woulda, had somebody.
Well, they shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, but
it wasn't even a game. Like, never have I looked forward to a game as much, only to be like disappointed like 8 minutes in.
But see, you didn't watch football back in the 90s and the late 80s, right? That's when I started watching football. When Lawrence Taylor or Reggie White came and broke somebody's leg, like it was applauded. It was a part of the game. Teams didn't cry and say, oh, we would have won if you just didn't hurt our quarterback. You were ashamed that your quarterback got taken off on a stretcher and you didn't mention it again because you didn't want to bring it up because it's embarrassing. These guys, all they do is talk about it. You're going to be in trouble this year because they're doing a lot of talking. There's another circle in the game on the calendar with the Eagles. We'll get to that when we get to that in the season because I know the Eagles are waiting for them too. But I can't stand it when it's like the coach makes the biggest, stupidest move by not bringing Garoppolo back, right? Not getting him prepared as the backup plan. And you're coming to Philly with a rookie quarterback and you don't have a backup plan for quarterback if he gets hurt. And you have a guy that's been successful on your team. But Garoppolo, there was no reason they shut down Garoppolo. They should have had Garoppolo playing. They were worried about Purdy having to look over his shoulder. If he was a leader, if Shanahan was a leader, he would have said, listen, I'm making a decision that even though Garoppolo's been here for so many years, you're now the backup, and that's the way it is. And I don't have to worry about him around the locker room. I expect you to earn your paycheck and be the veteran presence to lead this rookie. And then when he gets hurt, you have Garoppolo there on the bench to go in and try to win the game. I mean, that's a no-brainer. They misplayed the whole thing. You're going to tell me Shanahan's a coach of the year? Shanahan's a great coach? He's a bum. He blows leads. He blows 20 points leads in the Super Bowl. Doesn't even goes in the NFC Championship on foreign territory. Doesn't even have a backup quarterback on his bench.
Well, okay, Shanahan and Jimmy G had this weird relationship. It's over now. And I agree with you to the extent he didn't trust Jimmy G for whatever reason, and he did. He blew leads because of that, because he was scared to let Jimmy G throw it. I think that there should have been a better relationship between those two because Jimmy G did get the 49ers pretty far while he was there. But regardless, back to this game. We have 2 defensive-minded teams going up against each other. Kenny Pickett is the quarterback for the Steelers. This will be his second year at the helm here. But to me, if it comes down to Shanahan versus Tomlin, I'm going to go with Shanahan. I'm
going to go with Tomlin here. I think, and regardless of what I just said and the emotions that the dumb 49ers fans bring out in me anytime they're brought up, what losers. Anyway, you have to look seriously at the Steelers to make a big turn here offensively. Their offense has struggled for the last couple of years, right? Ever since they kind of lost they lost the receiver that the Brown.
Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay.
They lost him. They lost the running back, right? Bell. And that's pretty much the last year that they had the top proficient offense in the league.
Big Ben, of course.
Yeah, Big Ben leading the way. So I think you're going to see, I think they have the guys in place. They're young, right? This Pickens kid can go get the ball. I'm telling you, he's the most underrated guy. If you're looking at fantasy, Pickens is the one to have over Johnson. Deontay Johnson's a good receiver, a nice receiver, but Pickens is one of those high flying acts that is going to make some highlight reel catches. And I think you have to watch out for the duo of Pickens and Pickett for some years to come. And they're going to start firing out this year. You also have Najee Harris at running back. I know a lot of people are kind of down on him after last year, but he didn't really have much support. And Pickett got to start at the end of last year. So he got a little of that rust out so that he could come in hopefully and have more confidence, be more successful this season. I like the Steelers in an upset.
Wow. You want to bet that?
I'll take 2.5 points.
Was that what the line is? That's what the line is, right?
Yeah. I'm just making sure it didn't change. 2.5. Steelers at home. All right. That's the sucker bet right there. Steelers 3-point win.
Okay, we'll see. All right. Next game is the Washington Commanders versus the Arizona Cardinals. The line is -7 in favor of the Commanders. This one I have to consult my quarterback sheet on again. So
I can tell you.
Tell me who the starting quarterback for the Cardinals is.
Josh Dobbs is the starting quarterback.
Are you sure?
So listen, it's not 100%. I know Jonathan Gannon was trying to keep it a secret, but all reports that have come out a couple hours ago is that it should be Josh Dobbs. He's the quarterback that they traded for only 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, from Cleveland. So you're looking at Jonathan Gannon. Go ahead. I'm not going to steal your thunder, but Josh, he is the starting quarterback. He's going to be the starting quarterback.
Okay. Well, so when I looked it up, it was between Josh Dobbs, who we all know played in Tennessee briefly last year, and he did a respectable job, but he's been around a while, or Clayton Tune, who's a 5th-round rookie. And Sam Howell will be the quarterback for the Commanders. This will be his 2nd year. He made, I guess, a few starts late in the season last year for the Commanders. So I know this is another shit show as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know why the Commanders are 7-point favorites.
Because the Cardinals are a shit show. I'm telling you right now, Cardinals are going to struggle.
Terry McLaurin is questionable.
That's a big loss if Terry McLaurin Scary Terry can't play, because that guy is really, really good.
I mean, we saw Josh Dobbs. He was able to run an offense.
Yeah, but the reports out of camp is that Hal's a really good quarterback, that they're expecting good things from him, and they don't expect him to relinquish the job during the season for bad play. He did get a little bit of a look last season. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but they're pretty high on him. Plus, you also have to consider that this is a new offense, right? Run by Eric Bieniemy, was brought in from Kansas City, and he's going to have a shot to really make an impact on this team. A lot of people think that he has been brought here to get the culture going into a winning direction and then possibly take over after this season for Ron Rivera. So there's been a little bit of turmoil where Ron Rivera hasn't probably been as receptive or probably handled some situations in the locker room, such as it's a losing franchise, right? Some of these guys are not happy that Bieniemy's being tough on them. And he's coming out with a iron fist and very demonstrative in his approach and his message. And the players are complaining to Ron Rivera about it. Ron Rivera didn't really have his guys back per se. I think he's going to play the opposite off of Bieniemy, hoping that things go his way because he feels the pressure that Bieniemy possibly is there to take his job. So it's going to be an interesting saga. It continues for the Commanders. All
right. Are you putting your money on the Commanders at -7?
I am actually going to take the Commanders because I don't have any confidence in a Jonathan Gannon-led football team.
Okay. Didn't Jonathan Gannon lead your defense to the Super Bowl last year?
He didn't lead the football team. He was a defensive coordinator.
I said your defense.
In spite of him.
Okay.
There's that much talent on that Eagles defense.
All right. Well, I'm not putting my money on this game. That's all I got to say about that.
There's better games to take. I'll say that for sure.
All right. Next game is the Bears versus the Packers. It is at -1.5 in favor of the Bears. This is a division game. We obviously will have Jordan Love at quarterback after Rodgers has exited. Historically, the Packers have dominated this matchup. As Aaron Rodgers put it, he owned the Bears. But I think that this is time for the Bears to change history and take over the matchup. So I'm on the Bears here.
I'm on the Bears too. Just a couple of changes. I really love DJ Moore. Right. The Bears got him from Carolina in the draft day trade that allowed Carolina to go up to the first pick and get their quarterback. So DJ Moore is that deep threat that Fields needs. I think it's going to open up a lot of space. They have a lot of weapons there. Khalid should get a lot of the carries to start, at least those carries that are not going to be consumed by Joshua Fields. So
you are just butchering everybody's name.
So Justin Fields. So the key for me here, though, is that defense is going to remain stout and strong with the acquisition of TJ Edwards at middle linebacker. I think it's very undervalued. He signed like a 3-year deal for about $12 million.
The Bears defense sucked this year.
Yeah, the Bears defense is going to be good this year. You wait and see. They have some good linebacker play, and they just added TJ Edwards, which should be pretty strong. I think they drafted a corner or two, so hopefully they get some strong rookie play. And I like the Bears. I think, to your point, the success in the past that the Packers have realized against the Bears have been pretty much because of Aaron Rodgers. Now that he's gone to the New York Jets, look for that luck to change.
Yeah, and they also, the Packers have their 2 wide receivers are questionable, Dobbs and Christian Watson.
Justin Fields.
So, all right, next game is the Denver Broncos versus the Oakland Raiders.
It's the Vegas.
Okay, I knew that was wrong when I said it. All right, so it opened at -4 in favor of the Broncos. It's down to -3.5. This is a division game, right?
Yeah.
So obviously things did not go so well for Russell Wilson last year in Denver, but they have Sean Payton coming in as the head coach. And then we have Jimmy G at quarterback for the Raiders, reunited with Josh McDaniels.
Jimmy Garoppolo, huh?
Yep. So I don't have like much science, but I'm taking the Raiders.
Listen, I'm on the other side here, and this one reason is that I was really big on Russell Wilson, but it seems like that he's turned into a prima donna in his late years with Seattle. And clearly last year there's a disconnect there with him leading the team. Sean Payton has taken the reins back over. This is his first year as coach, and they're married to Russell Wilson with the contract that they gave him, the draft capital that they gave up in the trade. So there's no getting rid of Wilson. And Sean Payton's putting his foot down from the get-go here. He doesn't like what he's seeing. He's trying to get him to stop trying to be, that all-pro, in-your-face quarterback that is just kissing babies per Sean Payton. And he basically said, you got to stop kissing babies and start playing quarterback. So
is that a good thing to have come out about your... Because he said something initially when he first took over, too.
No, it's not a good thing because Russell Wilson is broken, right? I mean, last season was broken. He looked like a horrible quarterback. Nothing was working, right? It's a new team for him. It did not go well. You can call it coaching, whatever the case may be. Hopefully it's not just Russell Wilson. But he's been allowed to, when he was courted by Denver, he's been given everything that he wants, right? They even talk about him having his own office on a different floor. And he's just not really like the guy, like for instance, a Jalen Hurts that team players want to play with and they're led by because they feel like they're in the trenches with him getting dirty. Russell Wilson has put himself in a position to be the prima donna quarterback and has acted or put barriers up between him and his team. So I love what the point is Sean Payton's coming in here and trying to knock him back down, get him level with the team, and hopefully can build him back up to where he's respected again and the team can get behind him.
Okay, so when you started your take there, you said, I'm on the other side, and then you gave every reason not to be on that side.
So I'm telling you why I like it, because I think that if you don't make this kind of personality change in Russell Wilson, he's going to be a problem. You're not going to get any better play than you did out of him last year.
But do you think it starts here,
Yeah,
or is it going to develop over the course of a season?
No, I think it's going to continue to develop. It's not something you can change overnight, but I believe in the coach, the system. And if he can bring back Russell Wilson, and it's going to be a gradual process until he's back to that elite level. But the change in system, the starting of the change of the personality, if it works, is good enough, I believe, to get past the Raiders.
Okay. So you like the Broncos at -4?
I do. They're at home. I'll take the Broncos.
Okay. That's the only thing that worries me a little bit is the whole altitude thing, like week 1 of the season. But
yeah, it's tough to travel in there in general, but week 1 where you're not really as conditioned.
Right. But I'm still taking
I agree.
the Raiders. All right. Next game.
You want to bet on that one?
Nah, not really. All right, fine. What have I got to lose? $20?
Oh my God. Not really.
All right. So next game is the
Chargers and Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
That's a good
Chargers
one.
versus the Dolphins. It is -3 in favor of the Chargers. So these teams did play last year. It was week 14. I feel like it was like Tua's first game back after one of the concussions. I remember watching it and him just kind of not looking right. But I mean, the Chargers, like, they're still the same team they were with Phillip Rivers. Like, they always like find incredible ways to lose and to give up leads, like what happened with Jacksonville. So, and they just don't blow teams out, right? So I think you got to take the points and you got to take the Dolphins and figure worst case, it's a back and forth shootout and somebody wins by a field goal.
I think this is a case where a lot of people, the expectations were high on the Chargers, maybe too much. And they kind of, Justin Herbert fell backwards, I would say, compared to his rookie year and to expectations. Eckler didn't have nearly as strong of a season. He still put up some good numbers, but didn't have nearly as strong of a season as he did the year prior. Keenan Allen was nicked up most of the year.
Oh, Keenan Allen.
So you didn't get a lot out of him. And obviously you got the big, tall Mike Williams who got hurt at the end of the season, right?
Neither one of them could stay on the field. Yeah.
So I'm looking for, it kind of seemed like all the players, all the key elite players that the Chargers had some types of issues or were nicked up, or in Herbert's case, just, didn't play well.
Too.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a reverse. A lot of people have kind of soured on the Chargers. So I think this is going to be kind of the step down, almost similar to what I expect the Bengals, even though they were really good last year. They didn't make it to as far as they wanted. I think the Chargers and the Bengals are probably the two teams that you're going to see in the AFC Championship battling out to get to the Super Bowl. I like the Chargers this week. I love Austin Eckler. I think he's probably the best running back in the league.
Do you know Jalen Ramsey is with the Dolphins now, but is he healthy?
I do not know.
Okay. All right. Next game. Oh, the next game, Steve, is the Patriots versus the Eagles.
Once upon a time, this would be a huge game in this house.
Yeah, once upon a time. It is -4 in favor of the Eagles. So we have Bill Belichick as a home dog.
Do you remember the last time the Patriots played host to the Eagles?
What do you call it? Play host when it's the Super Bowl?
No. When was the last time the Eagles went to New England?
Okay.
To play the Patriots.
Were you in the 7
stadium?
years ago?
Were you in the stadium?
Yeah. That was the Chip Kelly, and that was
Chip Kelly's last
game. Yeah.
That was a great game. We were in there, and Jaclyn was 4 months pregnant with Jacob Brady.
Like
that was awesome.
Anyway, okay. So, I don't think that Bill Belichick has ever faced Jalen Hurts, right?
No.
Right. Okay. They do say he kind of struggles against like the running quarterback, though. So
who does, Belichick?
Yeah.
Well, so he's had some problems with playing Baltimore, that's for sure.
So, I got to go with the Eagles here, and it's like Tom Brady tribute night or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, now that he's retired, they're waiting for him to like finally hang it up, and he did. So now they're going to pay the respects to Tom Brady. I guess hang 12 up in the rafters. So you're going to have a lot of emotion coming out of the fans, coming out of the stands for this one.
Is it ironic that it's against the Eagles?
I don't know. It's ironic. I mean, it's ironic for the Eagles, but I don't think the Patriots care. Their history is so big that they don't really.
You don't think Tom Brady cares about the Super Bowl that he lost to the Eagles? I think he does.
I think he cares, but I don't think it's ideal. I think Tom Brady thinks of teams that games that he wish he had back. That's probably number one.
Mm-hmm. And just on a side note, Bill Belichick broke up with his longtime girlfriend, so I don't know if that's going to affect his mindset or his preparation.
Okay, so there's been a lot of recent talk about this just came out.
Mm-hmm.
That his longtime girlfriend, apparently she's in that house in Nantucket and won't leave because she's so ingrained into the social life in Nantucket that she won't get out of the house. But anyway, that's a big reason why I'm saying that is because if she's in the house and they're breaking up, guess who's not in the house? Guess where he probably is?
The office.
So guess who's probably studying and putting more time into the game plan. So for me, I think this is a bad thing. Some people might think, oh, he could be destitute and heartbroken. And
well, I think he broke up with her.
Yeah, well,
from what I read, it's been a year-long process.
Yeah.
But she's all up in his stuff.
She's
so it's not he can easily get rid of her.
She's nuts.
So and they're worried about
an easy eviction law in Massachusetts.
They're worried about what she might post on social media. But anyway,
he's cheated in the NFL.
Anyway,
how they cheated in the 2005 Super Bowl.
Pick on the game.
I love the Eagles. I know a lot of people are going to think the Patriots here, but they're not really the Patriots of old. They don't have the quarterback. It's Mac Jones, right? It's Juju Smith, Schuster.
Mm-hmm. Zeke.
Ramondre Stevenson. I'm really high on him. He's good, but he does have injury concerns. He got nicked up a little bit last year. So we'll see how that plays out. Zeke Elliott is the ex-Cowboy. He's very familiar with playing the Eagles. So we'll see how that turns out. But the Eagles just have too much talent. Now, I am concerned a little bit with the Eagles because of the fact that they lost both of their coordinators. And even though, I don't like the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, from last year, still losing both coordinators is a major, major thing that they're going to have to overcome during the season.
Well,
nobody's talking about it. Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator, right? And has gone recently to Indy. Yeah, and then Gannon went to Phoenix. So they have, this was the question that I posed, and I don't know the answer, what the record would be, but just bear with me for a second.
Oh my God. Remember when we got started and you said, let's do this quick?
Yeah. But let me just finish this point. If you could look at every team in history that played in the Super Bowl and then the next season, and there's got to be a bunch of teams that have this scenario, lost both their coordinators, right? Because the teams that are in the Super Bowl, that's usually the team that get cherry picked for coordinators to be head coach. So it's happened a bunch of times. I don't know what the record is, but I got to imagine that the next season record of the team that lost both their coordinators and had gone to the Super Bowl the prior year is under 500. It can't be a lot of success. It's a major undertaking. A lot of franchises, it's not ingrained in the culture like it is in Philadelphia. So I think they have a shot to overcome this. Most of them, it's hey, new coordinator, we're doing a whole new thing, a whole complete opposite thing than we did last year. So you have all that learning curve that occurs, and that's when teams usually struggle. So it's still the system is the same, and they're just plugging a different coordinator in. So that's the only shot that Philly, I think, has here to be successful because the talent could overcome that change. And if they hit their stride mid-year, they all figure everything out. It's going to come down to not the talent. It's going to come down to coaches putting the talent in a position to win. And it's going to come down to play calling.
So who's your new offensive coordinator?
The new offensive coordinator, I can't remember the names of the new offensive coordinator, but he was at Florida and grew up with Jalen Hurts and has been coaching Jalen Hurts since he was in high school.
So he has no NFL experience.
But no, he has no offensive coordinator experience. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What about the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, who's that?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I can't remember the names of these guys.
Not big name NFL guys then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's the score on the Kansas City Lions game, by the way?
Yeah, I don't know that either. I don't have the score up.
Okay. Next game is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams. It opened at -5.5 in favor of the Seahawks. It's down to 4. So do you know why that moved like that?
Yeah, again, I don't know why that is. Would you like to ask me any more bogey questions I don't have answers for?
Hey, look, they're not bogey questions. None of them were. And you should have known the first 2 right off the top of your head. Okay. All right. So that's a big line move. It's only Thursday. It's a division game. Rams obviously were pretty bad last year. They're going to be without Cooper Kupp. Why people put money on the Rams? Doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm on the Seahawks. What do you got?
I like the Seahawks too.
Okay, good. All right, moving on. Ready? Giants, Cowboys. Opened at 3.5 in favor of the Cowboys. So another home dog. Interesting. Division game. The Cowboys did win both these matchups last year. He had Dak. I mean, didn't he lead the NFL in like interceptions and he missed half the season? So the Giants, they played pretty well under the new head coach. I could see him really using that home dog as a motivating factor. So I'm going to take the Giants. I mean, I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to take the Giants.
I really like the Giants here. I think that the Cowboys are going to struggle this season. I don't like Mike McCarthy. I know he's taken over the head, the offensive play calling, and I think that's a big mistake. They're going to struggle. The Giants are ready this season. I think they're going to be second place team in the division behind the Eagles, and the Giants roll.
They got Darren Waller. I bet you he's going to score a touchdown.
The Giants are home and they're 3.5-point dog.
Yeah, home dog.
All day, I'll take the Giants.
Okay, good. We're in agreement on that.
It's a 3-point game.
All right, and the final game is the New York Jets versus the Buffalo Bills. The line is -2.5 in favor of the Bills. This is a division game. It's going to take me a little while to get used to this with Aaron Rodgers with the Jets division. But it is. So obviously we have Aaron Rodgers taking over the helm. Last year, normally you could play that like you don't bet against Aaron Rodgers. Now we got Aaron Rodgers as a home dog. I feel like now he's with a new team. Maybe he's got his mojo back. So I got to play that angle, although it worries me a little bit. This is a Monday night game. You got to watch where the money goes, but I got to take the Jets. I also wanted to mention, and I don't know, there's conflicting reports. Is the beef between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs over or not? But we're going to find out.
Yeah, I like the Jets.
Okay.
I really like the Jets this year. I like the receivers that they have. They brought Cobb back in, but
Cobb.
again,
God, don't even get me started on that.
The guy from
Rodgers' security blanket.
Yeah, so I like the Jets. I like Brett. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come in here and put a winning attitude here. The defense is strong. We got Dalvin Cook, so I expect Dalvin Cook to come back and bounce back from an injury riddled season last year with Minnesota.
Bryce Hall's
coming back off a huge injury, so we'll see. Cook might get an opportunity sooner.
And
later.
your favorite wide receiver, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I'm really high on Garrett Wilson this year.
All right, so in just under 50 minutes, that is our week 1 podcast. And we forgot to do it at the beginning, but we'll do it at the end. If you're still watching, like, subscribe. Any closing thoughts?
That's week 1, Married with Picks.
Good luck.
Good luck week 1. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond green.